Welcome back, class. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to jump right in here. This is week 8, part 3. We're going to go over the Google form answers. Again, thank you for all those who are actively volunteering to do some of these activities each week. I always appreciate that. And thank you for all those who are sending emails to me about improving some of your grades. I always appreciate that. And so I know everything is due this next Wednesday. So if I think I sent out emails earlier this week. So and I'll kind of remind you again on Monday or Sunday next week. About the same thing. So if you're going to be redoing some assignments, they're due on Wednesday if you want to boost your grade. But let's jump right in. Let's do some of these activities from the Google form. So let's jump right in. Okay, so what you're looking at here is my iPad, and so the topics that we have here is point slope form. So I'm going to circle this. This is our main topic this week. This is what we were talking about in the video from Sunday night or Monday morning, if you checked it out then. It's where you have an equation of a line, so there's a line, and all you need to get the formula for it is you need one of the points on it, like a nice clean dot, and then you need the slope of the line. Now remember, the slope is, how far it rises versus how far it runs. And if you have both of those numbers, so one coordinate and the actual slope, you can actually find the equation for it. So it's actually a really easy formula, as long as you kind of know what to pick. It doesn't matter which dot you pick on the line itself, so that's kind of the nice part, but as long as you have the slope correct, that's kind of the main thing. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Let's jump right into the first problem here. We have 10 problems that I've picked out. So the first ones here, they're pretty much all the same questions. It says find point slope form for this particular line. They give us the equation, so we have the dot that we have to use. So again, just a reminder what the formula is. This is the formula that I had on the Google form and plus the video from Monday. This is the formula that we use. The x1 and y1 on this formula are the actual coordinate that I have here. This is your x1 and y1 in alphabetical order. So right now I can already fill in my formula. So this is a y minus 3, an m, and an x minus 6. Because again, the x1 is 6 and then the y1 is the 3. And we always subtract those numbers. Even if it's a positive or negative or a decimal, you always subtract them anyway. Now, all we need is slope. So I'm going to just pick another dot on this line. I'm going to switch up the colors here. I'm going to pick another dot. Let's say I pick this dot right here. This dot looks pretty good. That dot is, I think, 2, 0. It's right 2 and then up and down 0. That's how the dots are found. It's right and left first, up and down second. And so to find slope, remember the slope formula that we used last week was y minus y and x minus x. That's the slope formula. It's a fraction. It tells you how they tilted a line. And so the idea is that I'm going to take my y numbers from both of these coordinates that I have on my graph. So I have the 6, 3. I'm going to use that dot, and this one. So again, these are my x's and y's in alphabetical order. So on the top, I'm going to be subtracting. So I'm subtracting 3 minus 0. Again, I'm just going top minus the bottom. That's all I'm doing. And then for the x's, the 6 minus the 2. 6 minus 2. So again, y numbers are on the top, x numbers are on the bottom. I just did the top dot that we already picked, the first dot that I chose, and then the second dot that I chose, the 2, 0. And I plugged them in the right location, so my formula, or my slope, ended up being 3, 4. Or 3 over 4, I should say, sorry. And that is going to go in the m location, because again, slope stands for m. That's the letter that they picked out. And so this 3/4 will go up here into this location right here, and that's my answer. That's all slope formula or point slope formulas. Now, why we would do this? This is something we didn't really talk about in the video last Sunday. The whole point of this is, let's say you have a bunch of data for your business or whatever you're going into, science experiment, and you have all your dots plotted and you kind of drew the line that connects all of them. This gives you a formula that represents all of your data. It's an easy go-to formula. You had slope, you had a point. I plugged them in. It could pick any point on the line. I just chose that one for you. And now you have a formula. So why the formula is important is now you can use this formula to predict what will happen later, like off the graph. Because right now this graph goes up to 10 or 11-ish. I can kind of predict what's going to happen. Like over at 11, it's spitting out an answer like 6 1/2, 6 3/4, that type of thing. But I can predict what would happen 20 down the road. It'd be way up here. 20 down the road would be way up there. The formula will help me figure that out. That's why it's important to have formulas for all these. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're just learning the basic steps and how to get there. Let's go to the second problem that we have here. So again, this one, just like before, I have my equation is y minus y1, mx minus x1. Sorry if the pen's right in the way of the camera. Apologies. But the dot that I have here, this is giving me my coordinates. This is my x1 and y1. So I already have y minus the 6, that's the y1 number, and then mx minus the negative 4. So now the double negative there can make a plus. So if you want to make that a plus sign, because two negative signs side by side make a plus, you can make that a plus like that. They cancel each other out. But if you want to leave it minus a negative, it's fine. You can do that. Now, the only thing I have to find next is slope. Now, I'm going to pick a dot down the road. I always like to pick a nice one. For me, maybe the dot that I'm going to choose is this dot right here. That looks kind of nice. That dot is -1 over and then up 2. Again, it's the right and left number first, up and down number second. So now that I have my coordinates here, and why I picked a second dot is because I need to find slope, right? Slope is y minus y over x minus x. That's what we talked about, a couple weeks ago. And so my y numbers are the 6 and 2. I'll subtract those. 6 and 2, those are my y numbers from both of the coordinates I have here. And then my x numbers are the -4 and the -1, and I subtract those. So -4 minus the -1. And obviously this makes a double negative, so that makes a plus there. But this is going to be a 4 on the top. 6 minus 2 is 4. And on the bottom, -4 plus 1 is -3. And again, you can type these in a calculator if you want and get those numbers. But that fraction is going to go into this m location because m is slope. So that's 4 over -3. And that makes sense that my slope was negative, because if you look at the overall blue line here, I'm going to highlight this in blue. The overall blue line is going down to the right. That's a negative slope. It's dropping as it goes from left to right. It's actually dropping, so it's a negative slope. So far these all made sense. Again, if you're kind of wondering what we're doing, this is the whole point. This is the formula that we're trying to come up with. That is point slope form. And that's kind of the idea. Now, this particular equation says you can write it in slope-intercept form. Well, slope-intercept form is that idea where we go y equals mx plus b. Right? So if you want to go to that, you can't even see that, sorry. Let me go right to my iPad here. Y equals mx plus b, that's slope-intercept form. That is the same as point slope form. These two are interchangeable. They can go from one to the other. So if you have slope, which I have y equals the 4/3 x, -4 over -3x. The plus b is where I hit the y-axis. I hit it about 0.5, so 0.5, that's the b number. That's what we did last week. So now, again, this is just a quick guess at it. These two equations are supposed to represent the same thing. They're supposed to be very, very close to each other. So I kind of threw that one in there from last week just to see, can you spot like the similarities between these? I can get from one to the other if I choose to do so, and that's what we do in like Algebra 1b or Algebra 2. Okay, let's go back to my iPad here. All right, so I'm back. So we're going to go to point slope form again. That's the whole point of these activities here. So again, I have my equation. This is my x1 and y1. So again, my formula is y minus y1, mx minus x1. That's the formula I'm going to use the whole time. So plug in my x1 and y1. My y1 was 2, my x1 was a 1. So that's my coordinate that I had here. I need to find slope, so I'm going to pick another dot down the road. I'll pick this dot up here. That dot is, what, 2, 5? It's 2 over 5 up. Again, the right and left numbers first, up and down numbers second. Now, my slope, I have to subtract the y minus y, subtract the x minus x. Okay, so the y numbers are the 5 and 2. The x numbers are the 2 and the 1. Now again, how I'm getting these are the y numbers, and these are the x numbers. That's how I'm getting them. I'm not grouping it by coordinates. I'm grouping it by the back numbers versus the front numbers. That's how I'm doing it. So my slope is ending up being 3 over 1, and that would be in this little m spot right here, 3 over 1. It makes sense. It's positive slope. It's going up to the right. It's going up this direction as I go from left to right, so it is climbing as I go. So it is a positive slope. So that was problem number 3. Let's go to problem number 4. Now these are one of those simple ones that we did on the last video, or Sunday's video, I should say. These are where, if it's a straight vertical line or straight horizontal, it's whatever axis it hits. So this one's going to hit the x-axis, as you can tell. So we put x equals, and then what number did it hit? Well, it looks like it hit the number 3. That's the number 3. This is 1, 2, and that's 3, and 4 is next to it. So yeah, it's hitting 3. So this is the formula for a vertical line that is just hitting the one axis. It's not hitting both, so we don't have a y and an x. These are the shortcuts that we talked about last time. They're shortcuts for vertical and horizontal lines. Probably hear my dog in the background. He's trying to dig. All right, let's keep going here. So we'll go to the next part here. Okay, what do we got? We're on part number, what, 6 or 5, I mean? Okay, so we're going to point slope form again. So I have my coordinate. Lucy, quit. Loose. Knock it off. All right, so my formula is y minus y1 m x minus x1. Okay, so we're gonna, my dog is still trying to dig into the bed. So we're gonna subtract the coordinates that I just found here. So that is the y1 number is the -5, the x1 number is the 3. Okay. So now my slope, I need to pick a different coordinate. So let's pick another dot down the road. Let's pick a nice dot. So it looks like it's going all by 1s. So this could work. We could go this dot right here. I'm just picking one at random. That dot is 6, 1. It's 6 over 1 up in the air. Yeah. I'll just pick that dot. Again, these are just random. I'm just picking a dot that's on the line itself that looks like it's hitting a nice crosshair. That's how I'm kind of picking these, so don't feel like it's just some magical thing I'm doing. It's just I'm picking a dot at random. I could have picked any dot down the road. Like this was a nice dot. I could have picked that one instead. It would just have a different number. But it'll get you to the same equation in the long run. That's the crazy part. They all work. So my slope here, again, doing the slope formula, y minus y, x minus x. So the y numbers are the back numbers, so I'm going to take the 1 and the -5 and subtract those. So 1 minus the -5, and then the x numbers are on the bottom. That's the 6 minus the 3. Now again, how I'm choosing to do this, I'm going to the top dot minus the bottom dot. That's all I'm doing. And so this this ends up being, on the top of this ends up being a 6, because the double negative makes a plus, so it makes a 6. And then the 6 minus the 3 ends up being a 3, so 6/3. Now I know that fraction can simplify, but if you want to leave it 6/3, you can. If you want to make that the number 2, 6 divided by 3 is 2, you can do that. It's a nice whole number. Yeah, so this is the whole point. Again, I'm trying to highlight what we're doing. This is the whole point of what we're coming up with. This is point slope form. All right, let's jump to the next one here. We only have a few left. Same thing, point slope form as again. So let's pick my coordinate here. So this is y minus y1, mx minus x1. All right, so my y1 is the 3, and the x1 is the 1 there. Again, it's alphabetical order. It's x1, y1, x before y. It's alphabetical. Now I need to pick a different dot down the road. This dot looks really nice. Let's pick that dot. Oh, what is that? 0 right and left, up 7. That's a nice dot. Let's use that one for to find slope. So to find slope, again, my slope formula is y minus y, x minus x. Okay, so the y numbers are the back numbers, so I'm going to subtract these, 7 minus the 3. And then the x's, I'm going to take the 0 minus the 1. Now, 7 minus 3 is 4, and 0 minus 1 is a -1. So there's my slope, and I'll go replace this little m here with my slope, 4 over -1. 4 over -1 is the same as -4 if you divide the two numbers. But I'll just leave it a fraction, that's fine. So there you go. That was what, problem number 6 for us so far. Got a few left here. All right. So point slope form again. So we're going on to the next one here. We have this dot. So y minus y1, m x minus x1. My x1 number is the -6 here. So -6. And then the y1 number is the 3 there. Because again, alphabetical order, x1, y1. Okay, so now I'm going to pick a different dot down the road. This dot looks great. That dot is 0 right and left up to 5. All right, and so my slope, if I go to my slope formula here, y minus y, x minus x. Okay, so y minus y, that's 5 minus the 3. And then the, what is that, 0 minus the negative 6. Again, top dot minus the bottom dot. That's just how I'm choosing to do it. So again, the y numbers are on the top. That's the back numbers, and then the x numbers are on the bottom. So this ends up being a, 2 over 6, because the double negative sign makes a plus. And so that'd be my fraction I'm going to replace right there in the front. So this is 2 over 6. And this is the final formula for that point slope form. Okay, we got 2 problems left. 3, maybe? Alright, point slope form. Let's pick my dot here. So there's my dot. That's x1 and y1. Alphabetical order. So y minus y1, m, x minus x1. Again, this is point slope form. So my y1 happens to be the negative 3. So y minus the negative 3. The x happens to be the 4. Okay. Alright. So what do we have here? We have to find slope. So let's go into slope here. I need to pick a different dot down the road. I can pick anything. This dot looks good. Let's pick that one. There's that 2 over 1 up. Let's pick that dot. So again, these are my y numbers. These are the x's. So my slope is y minus y. Oh, that's so weird. Well, let me draw that. Okay. Y minus y, and then x minus x. Okay, so the y numbers, that is the 1 minus the negative 3. And then the 2 minus the 4. Okay, so there's the x numbers. So again, the y numbers go on the top, the x numbers go on the bottom. I just go top minus bottom. That's just how I do the dots. So I'm going to get a 4 on the top, because that is going to end up being 1 plus 3. And then the 2 minus 4 on the bottom makes a negative 2. So if I replace this little m here, I'm going to get 4 and a negative 2. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay. And there, that's the equation I want. That's point slope form. We got 2 left. Horizontal lines. So this is a nice clean one. It's hitting only the y-axis, as you can tell. This is the line right here. It's only hitting the y-axis, as you can tell. So it's going to be y equals. It's not hitting the x-axis, so it's just y equals. And then it's hitting at, what, negative 4 down here? And that's the y number it's hitting. And there's your equation. Those are the shortcuts when they're nice, clean horizontal or vertical lines. So those are kind of nice. But when they're slanted, like this one, then you can't do that anymore. Last one, this is the absolute last problem, then we'll kind of wrap this up. And then next week we'll do some different types of problems, and we'll call it a year, I guess. Kind of a weird time. All right, so what we have x1 and y1. Okay, so we have y minus y1, m, x minus x1. Okay, my y1 number happens to be the negative 3. My x1 number happens to be the negative 1. So again, we always subtract those, so I'm going to have the double negatives there. Now my slope. So y minus y, x minus x. Okay, so now I need to pick a different dot down the road. This dot looks good to me. That is 0 right and left up 2. Okay, so these are the y numbers. I'm going to subtract those on the top. So 2 minus the negative 3. And then the x numbers are the front numbers. So that's 0 minus the negative 1. So this is going to end up being a 5 on the top because of the plus. And then this is going to end up being a 1 on the bottom. And here's my final answer here. And there you go. Okay, so we went through every single problem there. Again, thank you for all those who are actively, volunteering to do some of these activities and, to submit things each week to the Google Forms. I always appreciate that. I kind of look through them and see how you're doing. Wish you the best, in these kind of troubling times, but I'm hoping that you're staying healthy, that your family's staying healthy, and you're taking care of each other. If you need anything from me, don't be afraid. Every Tuesday I've been doing Google Meets, or I should say a Zoom meeting. So if you have questions on any of this stuff, or maybe you just want to talk to your classmates, I've been hosting those on Tuesdays. Next Wednesday, that's next week, the 9th week that we've been out. On Wednesday, all late work and missing work and, redo assignments are due. So if you've been actively doing those, I sent out an email, I think, earlier this week to remind you of that. But yeah, so I really appreciate it. I hope that you're well, and hope to see you real soon. Bye.